Welcome to this month's edition of the AutoGuru podcast, where we delve into the new developments in automotive tech. And this month we have the pleasure of interviewing Yolande McLean, who's the General Manager of Partner Enablement. She's a new addition to the AutoGuru team. So Yolande, welcome to the show. Well, welcome to the podcast, Yolande. Before we get started, I thought, do you think we could have a quick fire round of questions just to get to know you a little bit better? I know you like swimming and rock climbing and the great outdoors. So what do you say? First answer that pops into your head. No overthinking it. Ready?
Sure.
Okay. You're halfway up a rock face. It starts raining. Keep climbing or bail out?
Keep climbing. It's only low cloud. It's not rain.
All right. Well, mountain bike downhill. Are you going faster than you should or slow and safe as you go?
The best advice I had when I started mountain biking was when you think you should go slow, go fast.
Surfboat rowing in a 6-foot swell. Is that thrill or terror for you?
I've only started surfboat rowing, so ask me in 12 months' time.
Okay, it's only a new thing, is it? All right, jury's out on that one. Best trail snack? Protein bar, jelly snakes, some sort of lolly, muesli bar?
I have a bit of a favourite, which back in the day my dad introduced me to, referred to as scroggin, which is salted peanuts and sultanas, but I add to it dark chocolate and dried ginger. That's my go-to.
Make your own scroggin, all right. Would you rather hike for 40 kilometres in a day or sit through a 40-slide PowerPoint presentation?
Hike for 40K unless I'm doing the presentation.
Right, okay. Worst blister story? Toes, heels, or somewhere we shouldn't mention on a podcast?
Ooh, I don't recall a really bad blister story for me, but my dad got lost in Burke for 3.5 days and he walked 50 kilometres and his feet were absolutely shredded. They were a spectacle.
Runs in the family, this outdoor pursuits then, doesn't it?
Absolutely does. His name's actually John McLean, so a bit of a diehard character.
Okay, all right. So if life had a summit you're chasing right now, where is that?
Oh, I think that's a tricky question because I don't think there's ever a peak. Yeah, I don't think there's a sole point that you reach your pinnacle and then you descend from there. I prefer to think of it as a series of undulating hills.
Nice analogy. Well, I think we've established you're a lot tougher than me, Yolande, from that quick fire round of questions. Let's see how you handle the fleet questions. What do you reckon?
Sure.
Let's get into that. Okay, well, as a little bit of an introduction, and for those who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit of your experience in the fleet industry and your new role as General Manager of Partner Engagement at AutoGuru?
Sure thing. Look, I kind of snuck into fleet many years ago working for a non-core services provider, and I managed their in-house fleet, and I was a customer of an FMO or a client of an FMO, and then made a move to a Caterpillar dealership and was there for about 11 years. So sitting in various roles but within the dealership. So I then had some exposure to what it's like to supply equipment, maintain, etc. And then finally, prior to the move to AutoGuru, I was with an FMO for 12 years. So I've sat in most seats around those 3 different relationships. So now at AutoGuru, as the General Manager of Partner Enablement, I'm very fortunate to be able to deliver solutions for our onboarding partners that solve the problems that I saw in those 3 different seats.
Awesome. No, that's a great context to be able to ask these questions and be able to give us some feedback from the different angles. So you have recently moved to the Gold Coast. What was the motivation for joining AutoGuru and, by extension, having to come to the Gold Coast?
Sure. Well, I met Barry, Eden and Craig several years ago, and I don't recall now if it was a presentation at the FMO that I worked at or whether it was at AFMA, but they had such great energy and their product's amazing. I was an absolute advocate and fan from the get-go. And then I was told that the Gold Coast is really warm and there's lots of opportunity to do outdoor activity. But I think I've been gypped because the last couple of months have not been warm at all. Did I say really cold? I mean, really warm.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been the warmest, has it, up here? But rest assured, the great weather is for the majority of the year.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't think I'm going to turn my back on it just because of the weather, because one of the decisions to come to the Gold Coast was also then to be present with the team. So be in amongst the tech team, the operations teams, and get that great immersive experience where you learn as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't think you'll regret it. And your time up here on the Gold Coast will be great for all those activities you told us about at the start. We're going to dive into the FleetGuru Maintenance Portal features soon, but I know that's going to be available exclusively to the clients of AutoGuru who are partnering with AutoGuru. But can you give us some insight into just what the core problem or the gap that AutoGuru has been setting out to achieve in providing this new way of looking at maintenance? Can you give us some insight into that?
Absolutely. Over the years, the industry's really grappled with that disconnected technology, that there's quite a number of processes where you cross over between supplier, client, FMO. There's a large number of processes that are really touch heavy. It's phone calls, it's emails, it's a lot of rework, a lot of going back and forth. Then there's been technology advances, I think, within the platforms that FMOs host for their clients, and potentially technology advances within suppliers, but nothing that kind of pins all of those things together or stitches them together. So I think AutoGuru is really delivering a solution that connects all those disconnected systems and allows information to flow and process to move really smoothly and rapidly.
Yeah, awesome. So to drill down a little more on that, what does portfolio oversight from a maintenance perspective mean in the context of FleetGuru? Like, why is that important for fleet management companies and by extension, the clients of those companies?
Sure. I think there's probably a number of different answers to that question. And first thing I'd like to tackle is at a client, depending on the size, scale, or importance of fleet within their business, the skill set of their employee can be quite varied. So it may go from an administration, a person who's in administration who is administering the fleet and carrying out some tasks, right through to having some really skilled, knowledgeable people who have mechanical background or understanding. So when we look at portfolio oversight, it is providing a snapshot of the assets that have a booking that have gone through AutoGuru or FleetGuru, and it can very quickly give a visual impression of the asset. So someone who may not recognize a description of an asset can see an image of it, and it's much more identifiable, particularly when you go into plant and equipment or agricultural machinery and so on. And then it can also highlight the assets that require attention from a maintenance perspective, whether that's hire authorizations or what might be called a maintenance referral for an event that needs the approval by the client for it to proceed.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So just having that visual representation for people that are busy, obviously, and are wanting to just understand the key things that are an issue for them, and having that highlighted, and then be able to make actions from there. That best summarize.
They're not needing to hunt for the assets that require some action. It's in a dashboard. Yeah. It's easily accessible.
Yeah, gotcha. So how does this feature really change just the day-to-day lives of a fleet manager in the future? What's the intent of where we're taking the platform?
In terms of portfolio oversight or the platform overall?
Yeah, from a portfolio oversight perspective, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it gives them time back to do the other tasks that are actually their core business. So fleet is not always the core business of a client. It allows them to move really swiftly so they don't lose time in the process. There's less waiting for actions to be undertaken between those three different parties, whether that's the client, the FMO, or the supplier.
It is something that fleet managers are struggling with all the day. They've got so many things to balance, and there's so many moving parts with fleet, isn't there?
Yeah.
This change will ultimately just allow them to focus on the things that matter the most.
And I think it's probably the upcoming features or the other features in the maintenance portal that provide a great deal of value, and the dashboard or the portfolio oversight will point them to which of those actions they then need to take.
Yeah. Awesome. Giving us some insight into this area that, there's a lot of change happening, isn't there? Like the way things have been done in fleet have been done the same way for a long time. So what is being rolled out here is a significant difference. And I mean, some would call it a bit of a game changer. Can I ask you potentially just from the digital logbook perspective, if I can ask some questions about that, can you talk us through how that works and what makes it different from the traditional way of doing things? Can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, sure. Look, some clients who've had exposure to it are really excited by the digital logbook. And when you think about a traditional vehicle logbook, it's limited to maintenance events that are services typically.
Yeah.
It's manual and it only captures information after the work is concluded. And it's often sitting in a vehicle. So the digital logbook is then a record that has every maintenance event that's occurred to the vehicle in chronological order. And you can drill down to see some of the line items or the tasks within each of the activities. So it wouldn't just be the 10,000K service. It would be broken down a little further into some of the tasks within that particular booking or order. Another really powerful thing is it's capturing bookings that are in flight. Yeah. So if a maintenance event has been booked and it's not yet completed, then that will also show in that digital logbook. The logbook is accessible then to the client and to the FMO, and it contains a bit of an audit trail as to what happened with that booking, with each booking as well. So identifying when it was created, if it needed an approval, when it was closed. So it's a much more detailed and readily accessible view of the maintenance history of an asset.
Awesome. Because that's a real blind spot, isn't it, for a fleet manager who's looking after a large number of vehicles?
Look, it can be. I think in many cases FMOs are able to produce the data that supports a digital logbook, but it's not in a logbook format, and it's not necessarily as complete. So I think the digital logbook we're able to generate is augmenting or supplementing the information that an FMO may be able to provide.
Yeah, awesome. So in terms of just the kind of insights that a client gains from this digital logbook, from what would have previously been the case, can we just sort of wrap that all up as what used to happen versus what will happen in the future? Like, how would you see the key differences between those two from an insights perspective and just a better way of...
So typically I like to think about insights as being across a spread of assets, and that the digital logbook doesn't at this point consolidate information across a spread of assets. We do have some really powerful reporting that's accessible to FMOs that can do that, but it is giving you really deep insight into a single asset, and it can be really useful in making future decisions about that asset. So whether there's a maintenance event that requires a higher authorization, then the client can readily see the history within that particular asset to make a decision about whether they're going to approve that particular piece of work. And it may also feed into decisions for them around whether they retain or dispose of that asset, because they have visibility to any sort of increase in cost over time as the vehicle ages.
Yeah, awesome. So the next feature that comes in line with this new portfolio view is dealing with online booking.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can ask some questions about, how is the online booking process going to work? I mean, this is clearly a key challenge in some parts. Can you explain to us how the booking feature in the FleetGuru Maintenance Portal will cater specifically to fleet managers and their clients?
Yeah, sure can. Look, that's the piece I'm really excited about. So let's spend a little bit of time in this area.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different pathways that allow an asset to be booked in for either a scheduled service or an unscheduled maintenance event via this online or digital booking experience. I'd like to talk a little bit beforehand about the issues in the industry today, which
Sounds
is
good.
FMOs only have visibility, or FMOs and their clients only have visibility to when a vehicle is booked in for service once the booking, it's actually booked into the workshop and the work is completed. Yeah. So there's no line of sight as to whether vehicles are going to be overdue until after the point that they are overdue. So there's no ability to manage recalcitrants or overlooked assets in the lead up to it falling overdue. And when you think about the context of chain of responsibility, ensuring vehicles are serviced on time is a really big feature, and ensuring that all reasonable steps have been taken by the FMO, by the client, by any number of people in the chain to ensure that they are fit to drive. So with this digital booking or scheduling of a booking, industry best practice is usually alerting clients and potentially their drivers that vehicles are falling due within about 45 days. Some people it's up to 60 days in advance of it falling due. So that's a beautiful big window in which a digital booking can be made. Now if I'll talk about the flow of those digital bookings.
Yeah.
Instead of a report being sent to the client, it actually appears in their portal. So when we talked earlier about portfolio oversight, within that list of assets, it will show vehicles that are overdue and then vehicles falling due, again in chronological order. So the most overdue are at the top of the list, and they're the most important ones to be actioned first. The client's fleet manager, embedded within their business, can take an action then to schedule a booking. And the two pathways are to either book it themselves, so identify or select the supplier, identify and select the build out of the booking itself. Is it a 20,000 K service? Do I need to put some comments in about there being moisture in the driver's side headlight? And then setting the date and time and sending it off to the supplier for confirmation. So it's a very rapid process. It takes seconds out of that individual's day to be able to schedule a booking for that particular vehicle. The other flow is then, if it is a vehicle that has a dedicated driver, it can get allocated to that driver. So again, the fleet manager selects the supplier that they want the asset to have this service undertaken at, and they may build out the job, again, 20,000 K service, and then Jared, it's your car, so I allocate it to you, and you can then put your own comments in about concerns you have about the vehicle that need to be addressed by the supplier, and then it's confirmed.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so just to unpack that a little bit further and comparing today versus the future with this new technology, if I'm a fleet manager and I've got 1,000 cars and I get an overdue for service report, and there's the same people are on there that haven't taken their vehicle in for service, that can be a massive window, can't it? As you mentioned, from I know I've got a vehicle that's out there potentially overdue for service, and actually finding out that a solution has happened, maybe weeks, months, or longer, because until you even get an invoice for some customers, until they actually get an invoice, that's the moment at which they can say work has officially been done, this vehicle, the issue has been rectified, and they're no longer at risk. So that window can be very long at the moment, can't it?
It can. And if I reflect a little bit on Six Sigma, which is a process improvement methodology, in Six Sigma, we talk about leading and lagging indicators.
Yeah.
And when a vehicle is overdue, that's a lagging indicator. It's too late. It's almost like a KPI at the end of the measurement period. You have no opportunity to make a change to that measure. It just happens. A leading indicator is something that you can measure during the measurement period, and then it gives you an opportunity to implement change and affect the outcome. So that pipeline where the client and the FMO can now see there's been a request to Jared to book his vehicle in. Jared has submitted the request to the supplier has confirmed the request. So along that pipeline, you're getting all these leading indicators that an action has been taken. And along that journey, you're increasing your certainty or confidence that the vehicle will be serviced on time. It's incredible. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen this over the last 25 years or so that I've been in fleet, and I'm 100% a supporter of it now.
Yeah, awesome. So, yeah, one of the variables in all of this process at the moment is you're relying on drivers to do the right thing. Many of them, of course, do, and are used to taking it to the same service agent and making the phone call and getting booked in. But that whole process can be timely, can't it? And sometimes, and people are busy these days and just don't do it. So, can I ask you some questions about Agentic Agent Bookings?
Yeah.
This is a term that probably none of us would have heard of 12 months ago, and yet is very commonly now being talked about within our business. What does Agentic Agent Booking mean in AutoGuru's world? What does it mean, and how's it going to work in practice? Can you give us some insights?
Yeah, sure. So when we look at that digital pathway where the driver is then selecting the date, so that the supplier has been selected, the service type or the work type has been selected, and then the driver is selecting a date and possibly a time as to when they're going to drop their vehicle off. That process can be replaced with an agentic AI call, where the driver is called by an agent that has an interactive interaction with the driver to identify when is a suitable time and date for the vehicle to be dropped off. So it can offer a date and time. The driver can say, look, that doesn't actually suit me. Could I make it in a week's time? And that agent can almost replicate a human conversation. So it understands and accepts information. It can make decisions. It can offer responses. So when you think about drivers who are currently, if they're getting an SMS or an email saying your vehicle is due for service, you get that message and it's on your phone or it's on your computer and you do not act on it immediately. So we're talking about behavioral change. The phone is put down, they've moved on from that email to another action in their computer and it's forgotten about, gets parked in the back of your head as not an important thing. When it's right there in that moment and the only thing you need to do is look in your calendar and say when you're available, it is so much more simple. And should, I think, transform the way that drivers or custodians behave.
And get their vehicles in there and booked. So how do you think that will empower fleet managers to deliver a far better customer experience and ultimately improve that compliance issue that we talked about as being a major challenge for fleet managers?
I think many people who today are not sleeping well at night with the concerns around whether or not their fleet is compliant, so whether that's a client or whether that's within an FMO, I think this solution gives them visibility and insights they wouldn't previously had. And in terms of empowerment, it gives them the ability then to identify the recalcitrants well in advance of the vehicle actually falling due or being overdue and take action. And I think we can probably build out a bunch of measures for them that help them also look at whether suppliers are doing the right thing in terms of confirming bookings or cancellations or reschedules. There's a whole lot of metrics we can support them with. So yes, I think it's that being able to rest easy at night without that concern that vehicles are overdue and that you've not been able to demonstrate you've taken all reasonable steps to ensure your vehicles are fit for use. Yeah.
That's a key thing that's going to come out of this process, isn't it? There's just a lot of hope that's going on at the moment that something doesn't happen, whereas this will provide a very much a documented flow of what has been done to rectify risks that just exist in the fleet space.
I think it's been hope and frustration.
Yeah.
Because that behavioural change piece is the really important bit. And how do you get a person to take an action if it's buried in an email or an SMS?
Yeah. And buried in an inbox that's full of emails as well. That's great insights. Have you spoken to one of these agentic agents before? What's the experience like? A human talking to an agentic agent?
Yeah, I have not. I have, of course, witnessed Eden at AFMA, which was a tremendous demonstration. I have also overheard Barry as he was testing out an agentic AI's agent's ability to understand accents.
Yeah.
But I've not had a direct interaction myself. I'm sure that will happen somewhere in the journey.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty impressive, isn't it? I mean, what the AIs are able to do now in terms of replicating things and being able to adapt to whatever the conversation requires. So, yeah, we've seen a number of examples of that, haven't we? And look forward to, interacting ourselves as this goes live. So in terms of the implementation and impact, what's the rollout experience like for clients of AutoGuru's fleet partners that want to adapt these brand new tools that are being made possible as a result of this new technology and the new AIs that are coming out?
Yeah, sure. So our existing FMO partners, or ones that are currently onboarding, are aware of these new features coming. They're really excited by it, and there's been quite a few of them asking early about being involved. So one that's currently onboarding is very keen to be involved, and we're working closely with those FMO partners to do a couple of things. One is to help identify clients that would be great early adopters under our early access program. And the other is to help those FMOs develop their tech to be able to supply or share the information from their systems that will supplement what we are doing with scheduled bookings and a couple of other features that are coming through. So there's some extra data sets that are required, but we're finding our FMO partners cannot wait to participate, and they make resource available to make those amendments on their side in order to pass the data through.
Yeah, awesome. And how do you support those partners through change management or onboarding? Like what's that look like?
Yeah, so there's probably been a series of conversations with some clients that were identified very early as great test cases, demos of the product, getting some early feedback, making some adjustments there. There's regular meetings with FMO partners and their tech teams, but also reaching out to their relationship managers and account managers and BDMs who own the client. So I think it's really important for AutoGuru, whilst we traditionally liaise with roles in FMO partners that are in operations, generally operations and tech, it's really important when we're talking about the client maintenance portal that we're engaging with the teams that own the clients.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. And yeah, for many, because we've attended a lot of conferences and the like, there's always been a lot of feedback, hasn't there, about what are the major pain points for fleets out there. And so a lot of this solution has come about as just a result of the regular things that keep being raised in these meetings, of which you've been part of that. You've had conversation,
Yeah, it's not a new problem at all. And so, yes, there's been lots of engagement with many representatives. So when you think about AFMA, we certainly had entities that may be clients with FMOs or may not be clients with FMOs, or may be clients with FMOs that are not partnered with AutoGuru, who talk about the issues that they face, and that helps us shape the solution. And we are always very respectful of clients that are not partnered with an FMO partner of AutoGuru.
No, it's certainly been something that's been talked about for a long time with no real obvious solution, and really the solutions really only come about as a result of being able to put what AutoGuru's done on the maintenance side together in a stack with all this new AI technology that's coming out, and putting that into just a flow that can piece it all together. And
I think it's, in many ways, it's such a big problem, because whilst as an FMO, an FMO may have their own platform and systems, but they're interacting with thousands of suppliers who all have different levels of technology or not. So even down to suppliers who may still have written invoices. It's probably a bit of a rarity these days, but it does still happen. So how can an FMO who's not a tech company, their primary industry is fleet and fleet management and being trusted advisors. So how do they design a solution that can be compatible with every supplier, with the varied processes, systems, skill level, and then their clients also? There's a range of skill level, which we mentioned earlier, or understanding of fleet or system capability for clients. So I think AutoGuru designing a solution that is agnostic to any particular FMO or any particular supplier or supplier's system or any particular client makes it accessible across the industry.
yeah, I think that's the great and amazing thing with AI, is that when you've just got so many varying types of systems that exist out there in this industry, and you've got to build a solution that's got to work for everybody. Otherwise, you can't just roll out something that's just going to cover 80% in what's such an important area of risk and concern. That's the amazing thing with AI, is to be able to build solutions that can cater for the most immature business through to very mature businesses and putting a process together. So I think, it's going to be an amazing thing as you roll that out and implement it over the next couple of months. I know you're excited about getting the first few on to that and doing the testing. Can we talk a little bit about the future vision and what's on the horizon? What is next for the FleetGuru Maintenance Portal? Are there any other features or enhancements that are on the horizon that you're excited about?
Yeah, there are quite a few. So there's a significant one, which is downtime management. And again, a problem that the industry's had that there's not been any really clear solution to. So whilst individual clients may have solutions within their enterprise, it's not necessarily visible to FMOs, or FMOs may be capturing information that's not shared across. So we are working in that space currently, and I think that's super exciting, and we're collecting, I guess there's been anecdotal requirements collected for a really long time, and building out a meaningful solution that covers a range of requirements. It can't, again, just be for the top end of town.
Yeah.
This solution needs to fit for a range of entities or a range of fleet sizes or complex or simple fleets.
Yeah.
So that is a super exciting piece of work. But there are also enhancements to the current feature set that's available that provide the client a little more autonomy in terms of creating users, and that frees up the FMO. It speeds up the pace of creating users. There's some pieces around how they may navigate the system or have visibility at a parent account, child account level. There's a number of evolutions that are taking place.
Yeah, awesome. It's another one that's been talked about for a long time, isn't it? Downtime management in a world where everyone's worried about the cost of a vehicle being off the road, what impact that has on a business. We know that a lot have spoken about the need for this, but again, it requires the coordination of a number of different systems, and immature businesses will require new data to be collected to be able to deliver that, to be able to set a baseline, and then also, again, coming back to your Six Sigma roots that you talked about before, also that ability to be proactive about that, so that it does become management and just not reporting. So I think everyone will be excited to hear how that progresses, because, again, downtime management, not a new request, but no one's really been able to deliver something that's really meaningful, that can be measured, really capture the cost that is involved in vehicles being off the road.
And I think that's a really interesting call out, the differentiation between reporting and management, because many people will call a solution management when it actually is just reporting. Yeah. So if you are just stating the facts, that's not managing downtime.
Yeah.
And another comment I think around that is, as we build out scheduled booking, that is collecting some information and informing downtime management, and potentially also providing functionality to downtime management that may be around the maximum number of vehicles you want off the road or can afford to have off the road at any given time. So we can weave that back into the scheduled booking or the automated booking to prevent more than the maximum number of vehicles being off-road at any given time. So if you have a large fleet of vehicles, you may have a cap of no more than 5 vehicles off the road at any given time. If 2 of them are off for unplanned maintenance, then you will only allow 3 others to be scheduled for servicing on that given day. So the two dovetail together really nicely.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think what you're also outlining and weaving this in with previous interviews we've done with Eden and Barry and Kane is that there needs to be these foundational layers put in place before you can really deliver the next one. And so, it just wouldn't be possible to be doing these bookings if you didn't have a digital layer, for instance. It wouldn't be possible to really maximize what we do with downtime management if we didn't have digital bookings and a portfolio view and being able to do those. So each is kind of built on the predecessor in terms of being able to roll out a solution.
And I think that's a really great summary for clients and FMOs, explaining why we haven't rushed to the finish line, that it's a marathon.
Yeah.
So if we kind of segue back to the endurance events I've been involved in, you don't race a marathon. Whilst we're moving quite swiftly and we're agile, there are those foundational steps that need to be in place before we cross the finish line.
Yeah, no, that's a good analogy. How do you see these tools shaping the future of fleet operations in Australia and abroad? What's your thought on that in terms of to square away just the future vision for AutoGuru and the FleetGuru platform in general?
Yeah, look, the current features deployed, or ones for which we have line of sight to alone, let alone anything that's still at an ideation stage, I think they're really powerful. I think they are going to make FMOs in Australia or who have partnered with AutoGuru stand out ahead of their competitors, because not only will they have tools they can provide directly to their client that empower their client to make critical decisions about their fleet, but they are also providing the FMO with additional insights that will allow them to make recommendations to their client about their fleet at a deeper level than they have been previously.
Yeah.
And I think for FMOs, it will really increase the stickiness of their clients where they're able to share this platform with them.
Yeah, awesome. It would be fair to say that the FleetGuru platform is very much an English-based platform at the moment. But the other thing that comes with AI is the multiple possibilities with different languages, and also the way data feeds into our system at the moment is being very much built for that too. Can you offer any insight into that as well? And I'm just throwing that at you, but
well, I was thinking that's probably why I heard Barry testing an AI agent to see if it understood his accent. Not that his is difficult to understand. Look, I think a lot of what we do is very translatable, no pun intended, to other countries and other environments. So a lot of what we've been talking about here is about integrations, and it sounds quite tech heavy and perhaps suitable for really sophisticated FMOs or clients. But I can see that the methodology or the process can apply to fleets that are perhaps not supported with a fleet management system, where they may be relying on spreadsheets or not even spreadsheets. So as long as we have the ability to ingest the data, transform the data, we can produce an output that supports the client wherever they are. And AI 100% supports us with that.
Yeah.
There's no reason that it cannot be applicable in non-English speaking environments.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's some real opportunities. As much as we see all these challenges in Australia, it's still probably true that we're at the top end of best practice globally. And so a lot of these things that are being built out here and experimented with and pushing a little bit of the envelope at the moment, the beauty is that they're going to be very transferable to these other markets that are trying to solve the same challenges that we've had to already solve or are looking to solve in the future. Well, maybe in closing, I can ask you, for fleet managers of FMO clients that are listening to this summary of what AutoGuru's doing and what's coming up, what's the one thing they should take away from today's discussion, do you think?
Oh,
What's
get on
your number
board.
one thing?
Get on board. It's coming. It's awesome. And I think embrace the opportunity, because these solutions are going to transform the way you manage fleets with your clients. And in terms of taking away the pain points, it is going to be simpler.
Yep. No, awesome. That's a key point. And where can people learn more or get started with the FleetGuru Maintenance Portal?
If they have an FMO partner, I think it's best in the first instance they contact their FMO partner And if they are FMO partners we are already working with, then we'd be more than happy to set up some meetings and discussions with their clients and then outline the next steps.
Awesome. So before we close, as a female with a long tenure in the fleet industry, tell us, what's your top advice for other women that may be working or are considering a switch into this fleet industry with all its many complexities and things that have been done the same way for a long time, I think would be fair to say.
And because you've contextualized that question as a woman, I will say I listened to a TED Talk or a podcast the other day that talked about how children as young as 5 start to be told, if it's a little boy, and they're going out into a playground, it's go and have fun. But little girls are told, be careful, don't hurt yourself. And they're taught from 5 to think of themselves as fragile. So I would say be courageous, because again, segue back to the beginning when you talked about my rock climbing and mountain biking and all of those things. I think have courage in your own capability, have courage in the fact that you have unique qualities or experiences that your employer values. If your employer doesn't value, find yourself one that does. A fleet is a male-dominated industry when we talk about the overall industry, but fleet management, there are plenty of roles for women and many women in high-level roles. So I think courage is probably my hottest tip.
Yeah, awesome. I think for anyone who knows you, Yolande, would definitely describe you as courageous, both in what you do in your personal life, but also how you deal with just day-to-day work. You are excited to take on new challenges, to get into breaking the way things have been done in the past, to find a new way to look for solving problems. And that takes courage to do that, because we're talking about an industry that has done things the same way for a long time. So I think that's a great place to end this podcast. I thank you for coming in today and sharing your insights on your journey through the fleet industry, the exciting things you're working on at the moment. And I know you're looking forward to working along with those that are really keen to also experiment, because part of what is happening with what you're building is there's some experimentation too, isn't there? And so again, I thank you, and sorry we've run out of time, but we look forward to next month's podcast where we ask more questions about the fleet industry and what's happening. Thanks, Yolande.
Thanks, Jared.
We've run out of time. Thanks again to Yolande McLean for joining us in the studio today. We'll be back next month with another interview in what's happening at AutoGuru and the FleetGuru platform. Until then, we'll see you next time.